In traditional human design, there is one kind of conditioning, and it's conditioning that comes from openness. And there's a lot of emphasis on things like being conditioned around the gate that bridges your split, or being conditioned around a gate with a center with one gate hanging on it and always looking for that other gate to the other side of it. And I'm going to tell you, I disagree with that. I disagree with that because that you're not looking at the chart in the entire context of the chart. First of all, that's the first problem. You can't look at a chart and apply a general rule to a chart without looking at the whole chart. If you have a manifester or a manifesting generator who has a motor to the throat, and they also have a hanging gate with an open with one channel, they have an open center with one hanging gate on it, they're probably not going to be looking for that other half because they've already got a motor to the throat. And so when we look at bridges and splits and those kinds of definitions, when we already have a motor to the throat, that's not as relevant. And that's an important piece to pay attention to with conditioning. I don't like to focus on formulas around conditioning that are mechanical. And I would say anybody that's only talking about openness in the chart as conditioning and is limiting the conversation around conditioning to just openness in the chart, first of all, isn't paying attention to science. And secondly, is discounting a lot of what makes somebody, a lot of what creates somebody's personal story. So when I teach conditioning, we talk about openness. You could talk about dormant centers, you could talk about bridges in your splits. That might or might not be relevant, depending on what else is going on in your chart, and also depending on the 4 other ways that we get conditioned. The second other way that we get conditioned is we get imprinted. This isn't human design, this is neurobiology. You are going to be imprinted by the family you are raised in. You are going to be imprinted by the way your parents behave. If you grow up in a family and let's say you have a projector parent, and you are a manifesting generator, and your projector parent is living out the conditioned themes of a projector, and they are bitter, and they question their value, and they're exhausted, and you grow up in that energy field, you're going to be imprinted by that, even if you're a manifesting generator, because that's the neurobiology of behavior and growth and development. The next way we get conditioned is we get conditioned by intergenerational family patterns. You inherit parts of your human design from your grandparents. And so some of us are living out energetic themes that are related to our grandparents. And some of what conditions us is is it possible, hopefully, that our parents have resolved their core issues with their parents? Because if not, when you're born, the dynamics flip and they're going to be working out a different angle on their own childhood story, right? With you and through their parenting. Some of our conditioning comes from our epigenes, our ancestral lineage. We carry up to 14 generations of memories on the protein codes that regulate our DNA. That means that sometimes we're preconditioned before we even get here. And if you remember that the epigenes, the protein codes that influence DNA expression, are part of the design of the body graph, some of that is going to be, some of the design of the unconscious part of the chart, or the body part of the chart, or the life purpose part of the chart, then some of that is going to come into play in your conditioning field as well. There are a lot of things that make you who you are, and a lot of things that make your story who you are. And if we start applying formulaic principles like, oh, if you have this, then you have this kind of conditioning. Oh, by the way, we just didn't even talk about, what about the conditioning in your defined centers? What if, for example, you have the 4323? Anybody have kids with the 4323? This is the kid, when you are driving in the car, that in the back seat is making constant nonstop noise. They're going, they're always making sounds, right, Hannah? Hannah has this, right? And if you grow up in a family where people tell you, shut up, be quiet, stop it, stop making those sounds. Why are you always so weird? Why are you always saying all that weird stuff? And that's part of your conditioning field. You will learn to shut off your definition. We don't ever talk about that in traditional human design. You can be conditioned against your own natural design if it's annoying and irritating to your parents or your teachers. So we have to have a broader conversation about how we internalize our conditioning, especially if we've internalized the message somehow that it's not okay for us to be who we are and how we are.